This conference will now be recorded.
help our assessor to acknowledge with the state that we are basically thinking to direct him not to just increase the values of our industrial properties to the point that the equalization is. But I guess my issue now is that, and you're here to correct me if I'm wrong. We can direct Allan not to do that, but he has a license through the state that's telling him that his job is to do that. But the issue that we're trying to work out is that the equalization director is licensed by the state and he follows state rules to do his job. Our assessor is licensed through the state and he follows a kind of a separate way that the state tells him to do his job, and the two aren't meshing. It almost seems like it's not even really possible. Because if it was, we wouldn't be standing here right now because Allan would have figured it out.
Yes.
I think the initial call was maybe 3 weeks ago, 2 to 3 weeks ago. So Allan's done a lot of work with the state and his peers and things like that since then. I can't sit here and tell you that this resolution is really going to be super helpful. There's different avenues for us to take, but I'm not really sure which one is going to get us there. And I was just a little bit distracted by the microphone thing, but so the avenue is perhaps the number one avenue that's in front of us that faces us is to appeal the study on the county level, which comes up in April. The second one, depending on the outcome of that, would be to appeal to the state tribunal, tax tribunal. And then the third avenue that we're taking is really just contacting state level individuals that can say, equalization director did his job. This is how we think Allan should proceed, and us, the city, because Allan represents us. And so at this point in time, we don't know what that answer is. So I guess if, with Allan's permission, if you still think that the resolution is written properly as of today, I don't have a problem putting it on the table to approve it. But I just don't want anybody to understand or think that this resolution is going to really fix anything in the meantime. It's not a fix.
Can I ask a couple of questions then? If the resolution isn't a fix and it's not binding and it puts you in a pickle, should we do it?
Well, that's the question, because we've actually maybe learned more since we wrote this than we knew while we were writing it. And so it seemed like a good idea to direct Allan not to raise the value of all of our industrial properties. But if we can't necessarily tell him that, well, we can tell him anything. Yeah. But if he still has to do it, he's still licensed to do it, then like you said, it really doesn't have a ton of teeth, at least that part. I'm going to leave it up to you to kind of guide us.
It's more of a tool for Allan.
It's a tool, right?
That's a good way to characterize it. I think the city council needs to be aware of the issue, and I think this is a tool to say that. To the mayor's point, I'm not sure it's at the final, whereas is the final conclusion that we'll end at. But it does boil down to really only two things. We need, in order to meet the rules of the state, we need to get to 72 million. If I get to 72 million, I don't believe we can pass the audit. and that those are two decisions that end in a non-compliant status, and I don't have a compliant option. so I don't have, that's kind of what's predicated the issue is that I don't, if I had a compliant option to the mayor's comment, we wouldn't be here. So I think to answer your question is that the resolution is important to acknowledge that we're in an option A and B, both of which end in a non-compliance issue. And what happens next, I'm not sure. But I think that's where maybe the term, an option, if you will, and making sure that everybody's aware that, we have a mandate and we're not really sure how to fill it. And we need to continue to explore options.
If we appeal this decision, what does that look like? Like, let's say we don't pass this resolution and we decide just to go to the tribunal. Is that a possibility? No.
So I would look at the resolution as a step towards that,
Okay.
not in lieu of. So I would think that the resolution, I think, kind of suggests that we recognize the problem and that we may consider, options to appeal. I think the way I would look at it is that we really shouldn't quite be here in that decision of this is non-compliant and this is non-compliant, and we really don't have a path forward. So either we need to all get on the same page, when all means various departments and different people, and say what should we do, or the other option would be an appeal of sorts.
Okay.
And it becomes a timeline issue because the appeal even to the county, who has the final say on the equalization, isn't until April 10th or 11th, something like that. So that's first week of April, but you have time constraints to meet before then on this property.
Correct. We are talking about the assessments that were being mailed very shortly, matter of days going out in the mail. These are the assessment increases that are going out in the mail in the next 5 days, 5 to 10. And that would be under a review by taxpayers to the March Board of Review. And so the timelines are a little confusing because the 56 to 72 million we're talking about, while we have to act on it today, any appeal options would start the second Tuesday of April, and then proceed to the state level. So I have to act today, but any type of dispute or review or finality to that actually doesn't happen until April, and then possibly even much later if it continues.
So in this, towards the end of the resolution, I don't know if most of it is just data that you have already spoken to, but the last part of it does say that the city council does hereby direct the assessor for the city of Alpena to leave assessments without an increase from 2022 levels. Would you say that is kind of in the interim or the immediate? Because at some point, I don't want to say that and we approve it, and it's going to take all 5 of us to say that, okay, now 2 weeks from now, this gets resolved through some level of cooperation. But you have a resolution that we said not to, because at some point you may or may not have to wheel back and do an increase that you can justify.
So yeah, that first be it resolved. I know that the verbiage says what you have in front of you. To me, it's supporting to say that you believe that the market value hasn't increased 27% in the industrial class in the city of Alpena. I know it doesn't say that, but that's So you're basically saying to me, my directive today to follow under the process of state and county equalization and the assessment administration is I need to come up with 27% or getting from 56 million to 72. That line to me basically says you would believe that the class is more stable and that assessments should be left alone. Whether that's the best decision from my conversations with the state or mandate number one, whether I can do that or not may not be. So I don't know if that was the best answer or not, but that there might be a different way to word it, but at the same time, that's my interpretation is you believe that the market value in industrial is leaving it without an increase, which is kind of the concept we're talking about today.
Okay.
Does that word make sense?
I think so. And what we'll do is cross any other bridge when it gets here.
And the second whereas essentially says that, we want to continue our options to make sure that we are at a fair market value for all industrial taxpayers in the city of Alpena.
Correct. Okay.
Did that answer your question?
Yes. I'm going to say yes. And I know it's complex. It's 80 hours more complex. If I can kind of take your.
I can chime in. The other, when Allan says lose, I think when we discussed it, there's a lose, which is if for some reason he did increase it from 56 to 72 and we passed the audit. This is going to be a major increase for our industrial taxpayers, which are, some of those are the highest taxpayers in the city. The most likely result is we're going to end up in the tax tribunal trying to defend numbers that we don't believe right now are justifiable. So we're going to have, and with those being larger taxpayers, if we had to go out and get appraisals on those properties, we're going to spend a lot of money to do that for an issue that isn't necessarily, and I don't want to assign fault to anybody, but it's an assessment that's not of our making. It's because county equalization, there's certain rules that have to be followed, and so we've got to follow them the best we can. Allan has sought help from Treasury, and I don't know how helpful they've been or not been, but I think the third lose is us ending up in the tax tribunal with several property owners that are going to challenge their assessments, and we're going to be stuck with not available data to show how that class went up that much in 1 year, because we don't have any sales. We don't have comparable sales to base it on. So
right.
I don't know that we would find anybody to support our position with an independent appraisal that we could show that person, here's our data, here's why it went up. I just don't think we're going to be able to justify that if we end up in the tribunal. So I think it's probably likely to end up there either way, unless the county reconsiders its study and changes it.
Right. Bill is correct that we decided, we being maybe the three of us, decided a week or so ago that we would take this on rather than the industrial class, which would be almost the entire industrial class, taking it on later. So that's kind of what got us here. And it's, like I said, it's Bill's right. We've been to the county equalization, and Rachel and I spent plenty of time with him explaining how his study is done and how his data is collected. And it's state level. I do this, I punch this in, the state tells me this. And then, so like I said, it's not necessarily that we're saying he did anything specifically wrong. It just the properties he chose put us in a very tight spot to lose and lose at.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess with that said, unless anybody needs any more clarification, I would suggest we pass the resolution, and then we'll just continue to keep everyone updated on what path we go down. Sound reasonable?
Yes.
I move we approve resolution 2023-02.
Second.
Councilmember Nowak,
Yes.
Mayor Waligora,
Right?
Mayor Pro Tem Johnson,
Yes.
and Councilmember Mitchell.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Thank you, Alan. Really appreciate all the work.
Thank you.
All right, next is the introduction of Economic Development Coordinator for Target Alpena, and Rachel, the city manager, is going to do that.
Hello, I'll invite Lenny up here in just a moment, but at the last council meeting, you passed an amendment to the target agreement, and they have brought on Lenny Avery as the economic development coordinator, and he will be doing some grant writing for us, as well as providing some functions related to the housing task force. But I'll invite Lenny up here to say a couple words. Thank you.
Thank you guys for the opportunity to serve the city and to increase the opportunities that you guys are looking to do. It's very awesome to have a group of people that are forward thinking, that are seeing the opportunities before they get there, you know, being proactive than being reactionary. I've been in the area for about 8 years, so I'm not a native to Michigan. I'm originally from Louisiana. Go Tigers. I was pulling for you to get your first national championship in a long time. Didn't work out for us, but I'm excited to work with all of you. If you have any questions, now I can answer a few. I don't walk on water. I can't turn water into wine. I can't promise anything, but I'll promise that I'll work hard for you, and we'll give it the best opportunity to put you in the best position to succeed.
Awesome. Good to have you, Lenny. I don't
Thank you.
have any specific questions for you, but
Good.
I have to get you a Wildcats jacket. I thought I'd say it before Mike did.
That's right.
Good.
3 years with Sims here, so I
Right on.
was there. I took our lumps.
Right on.
But yeah, I moved because I live in Hubbard Lake, so you know it just was a thing that, you know, just being local. I'm excited for this position because it's a regional opportunity to help not only, you know, the city but other areas that are looking to grow, because you guys are the seat for Northeast Michigan. You know, you're the biggest kid on the block. You know, and if you guys can show economic growth and development, it shows all the other people on the block how to do it. And that's the exciting part, because you guys are at the forefront, the tip of the spear of helping so many people. So that's the exciting part about this job. So
I certainly appreciate that regional attitude. That's how Mike Mahler does his business, so that'd be awesome. Glad to have you on board.
thank you guys. Appreciate it.
Thank you. And as far as football, as long as you like the Irish more than Purdue, we're good.
All right, next up is second reading of ordinance number 23-484, which amends chapter 18, section 18-1 of the medical marijuana facilities and adult use marijuana establishments. And Bill Pfeifer is going to lead that off. And we've also got some documents, maps, I guess, that were handed out to us.
Yeah, me, Rachel, and Montiel took our best, or we believe our best stab at changes that were suggested. We did leave open the possibility that if council is not okay tonight with passing this, that we would do another reading with any other suggested changes. I know you have the maps, that's kind of a second issue. But you have a clean copy and then the changed copy, the red line copy. Like I say, we think these are what changes were suggested. I know Rachel's had contact with you, I think individually, so you kind of know where we're coming from. And so unless you're ready to pass it right now, I guess whatever questions you have, just shoot them at me or Montiel or Rachel and.
Or Steve, he made the
Or
mess.
Steve, yep.
Pretty colors.
All hands.
It's not like the black and white one that I received in the packet that I was trying to. So this one you can read, so that's good.
All right. Well, my map and everything was color when I got it. And so these, I think, I did want to have just a little bit of discussion just to make sure that not only our guests, but council kind of understands all what's encompassed in this ordinance revision, I'll call it. First of all, probably the thing that opened it up were just some grammatical errors and fixes that I believe Montiel did. The second one that significantly changes the ordinance is the addition and allowance of curbside and drive-through. And those, if accepted tonight, will be addressed by the planning commission as far as being suitable for our zoning regulation. So this doesn't necessarily say that an establishment can. It says that they can if their plans are approved by the plan. I'm just looking out there so you can do that. That's fine. I guess just to take one topic at a time so we don't get too lost in discussion is if anybody has any major questions or issues with that part of the revision. No. Kind of talked about it ad nauseum, I guess, if that's the right word to use. And then the second part or third would be some of the discussion we had over whether we should or shouldn't allow the different types of grows and processing, because the major issue is going to be, maybe a slight issue might be noise, but I doubt it. The major issue is going to be odor that might not be controllable to the extent we would want, and that's where the maps come from. I just had one in my packet, so I was just kind of looking to see what these different ones are. This is the one that we had in our packet.
Yeah, the first two are from previous meeting.
Oh.
We had last meeting.
Okay. Okay, so this one, so these don't necessarily have buffers on them, these two. They don't show like a buffer around.
Correct, they are adjacent, adjacent to residential, and then the other map is, it's kind of hard to show because you don't know where they can go. It kind of shows the areas where they could go and how many could maybe go in that area.
Right, depending on how big the buffer is. So I'm going to concentrate on the map that has the green, the 3 shades of green around things. Okay.
Third one.
Yep, that one. It's the third one. Because this shows, if you look at the bottom of the legend, this shows buffers of 250, 500, 750, and 1,000, depending on the type of green, as far as buffers to residential areas when we're talking about growing or processing. Right off the bat, I didn't realize, I spoke with Rachel a little bit this morning. I didn't realize all this time that the college's property behind the industrial property that we own on 23 is all zoned residential. I guess I just never thought of it that way, but it is. And because it's zoned residential, that pretty much cuts off a very significant amount of the city's property. As a matter of fact, the white area that's there is already owned by the, so the only buildable area in that part would be like where the boathouse is and a couple of other maybe businesses. It's relatively small anyhow, on the corner of Hamilton.
Yeah, not much. I mean, you've got most of it's taken up by the Carter lumber parcel and the propane.
Right.
There. The other parts are a lot of wetlands also that could be built on. So that's.
Right. Right. And then the industrial park that's across the highway. I guess a little bit of issue I had, and it's not on you at all, is the fact that the city ends there. And if we were to say, okay, well, let's treat the township's residents the same as we're treating the city's residents, that Robin Avenue is all residential. And so that would push a buffer. So to say, well, the industrial park would be fine, knowing that there's a whole street of residents across, just didn't seem very cool, I guess, from our perspective. So really on that note, it kind of just draws it all the way down to some parcels on Commerce Drive, back in the Wessel Road area. And I don't know. I told Rachel this morning, I'm okay with allowing, I don't want to sit here and say, we're counting out that type of industry, regardless of what it is. But at the same time, I'm sensitive to the odor, whether it's marijuana odor or really any other odor from any type of industry that could potentially move into there. So staff suggestion, and Rachel can correct me if I'm wrong, staff suggestion is to basically just, rather than leave these couple of areas open, is just to prohibit grows of any kind, including micro business and processors of any kind. And that's,
It just made, I mean, our direction was to come back with 1,000-foot buffer. And once we did that, it just didn't make sense.
it's very limited, extremely limited, to the point where, like I said, if we're going to be sensitive to the township residents that are out in that area on the outside, we're really almost down to maybe 2 parcels. So I just thought I would just leave it up to discussion to see where the rest of council was at with that particular issue. Look over here. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I didn't mean it that way.
That's all right. We've had some good debates.
I have. In 2 years, I've kind of got a pretty good idea where everybody's.
I think, I will say, I think that is a good idea to prohibit. I work in an industry that conveys a lot of this type of product, and I've had conversations with people that work in that, and, it is, not only within the facilities a strong odor problem, they haven't found one that isn't even slightly around the facility. So I'm in agreement, obviously, with the, prohibit of those facilities coming into it just, like you said, they're so close to, if not our residents, the other township residents, and it just doesn't make sense. And from my end, and just having a little bit of information like that, I just thought there are some facilities, and we'll acknowledge it, that do a great job, but even those facilities, still have some odor within the parking lot areas, and depending on the wind can carry. So, and those are some of the best. So I would prefer, that we don't have that in any of our areas here within the city.
I agree.
There was something else. There was something else quick to address. Those are just expiration things.
So then we would go through the ordinance and delete anything that has to do with micro businesses, all of that. Okay.
I think, Bill, you've already done that, at least in the licensing ordinance. There will be some things in the amending zoning ordinance to change, but we needed to get your feedback and see which direction you were going.
Okay. Yeah, and there was like a lot of licensing changes. I'm sorry, something slipped my mind. I thought there was one other thing that this addressed.
Was that the 500 foot from business?
Oh, thank you. It was
Yep.
500 foot from business to business.
Thanks, Danny.
Is that in here?
It will be addressed in the zoning ordinance.
Okay, that's why
Yep.
I'm scrolling through and not seeing it. That's
And
not,
we still wanted to make sure that was the direction because we will have to take that through planning commission. That
I
would,
believe so.
or 14th, excuse me.
I think we had a consent.
We have been.
I just forgot that it wasn't being addressed in here. So any other, I'm sorry?
I'm sorry, I thought Cindy had something about the.
I do. In the, I'll never find it. The city can charge up to $5,000. It has to be justified to each business every year for the work that we put into it. In this, it says from time to time, I can't find it. From time to time, city council will pass a resolution on what that fee is. Well, it has to be a justified fee. So we kind of will have to work from a year, like from this last year, what does that fee look like? But we've never passed a resolution. So my question to Rachel today, this morning when we had a conversation is, can't we just change that language and adopt that, whatever that sum is, that staff's time, et cetera, for the year that they've put into working on this? Can't we just refer to our budget and adopt it in our budget process?
We do that with
The fee, under the fee table,
Yeah.
fee something, what's that called? Fee schedule?
Fee schedule, and
Yeah.
and it is, I did check, and I'm sorry, I didn't have time to get back with you, but it is all in the fee schedule for renewals and everything. So I just can't find the exact language here.
But
So you're saying that the amount is currently in this, in the ordinance? Oh, it's not.
it's because it says that we can charge those businesses up to $5,000, but we have to justify whatever.
Right.
Whatever the fee is, we have to justify it. So if it's 20 hours of Montiel's time, which I'm sure it's more than that,
Yes.
and add all of that up, that would be the fee for the year. That'd
Yep.
be
Right.
up to 5,000. So
And the state sets that ceiling at 5,000?
yes.
Okay. And we're probably at like 10,000 right now. So I think we can probably justify that.
Yeah.
But over the years, I see your point.
Yeah. So do we still address it in the ordinance, or maybe just address it and refer to our fee schedule in our budget?
Yeah, I mean, the way I read this, and I know I read different than some folks. I mean, the way I read this is it can't be more than 5,000 or whatever amounts established by resolution by council. So if next year you changed it and said it's only going to be 4,000, we wouldn't have to amend this because we've capped at 5, but it could be less.
Right.
Or an amount established by state law. State law could come along and say it can't be more than 3,000. I doubt they're going to do that because the state's, it's unlikely that they're going to lower it. They could raise it, but we'd still have to justify, that we've got enough time in to defray the actual costs of doing it. So this allows us to each year to make it whatever council wants to make it by resolution. So during the budgeting process, the fee schedule changes and makes it 4,000 or not more than 4,000, then we'd be okay without amending this.
But does it need to be done by resolution? Because most of our other fees are just done by a vote of approving the budget.
I mean, there is a budget resolution, so I'm assuming that would.
Oh, that's the resolution.
But I don't know if you want to be more specific, so it doesn't seem like there's a separate approval.
Right.
Well, no, now that you mentioned that we passed that they're actually resolutions when we pass the budget, and that's what it's referring to.
Yeah.
Fine.
So, I mean, if that's fine, but I think you just wanted to verify that language was still acceptable.
Okay.
I'm good. I think that's.
Okay, I'm good. So you're saying that we can, this is the second reading. We can approve this with the noted changes now? Or does it have to be brought back again? Oh, I'm getting a time. I've timed out.
I'm sorry. Just kind of, now underneath the table that includes the number of permitted facilities where it would prohibit those, there is a section, or number 6 and 7 that would need to be struck.
Right.
Okay. I think it was just those two sections.
It's 6 and 7, but
Yes.
there's another in the document on page 15, 1B, and page 17, 2E, addresses micro businesses as well. And there might be more. Those are the ones I caught.
I'm gonna blame it on my secretary, say that I told her to take those out of there.
She might be listening.
And,
You'll find
we're
out.
not on YouTube anymore, right?
Yes, we are.
Oh, we are. There probably are some cleanups here, so it probably makes more sense to bring it back.
You want to bring it back?
Yeah, just to make sure that we're,
I was going to suggest that anyway, because we've had a lot of great debates, and I would prefer to have Councilperson Walchuk here for that vote as well. I mean, you've allowed that for me when I've been gone as well, so I would prefer to do that anyway.
Very kind. So would we expect that it would be at our meeting on March 6th?
yes.
Okay.
I won't be here.
And then what intended, assuming that you told us what we thought you were going to tell us in terms of that 500-foot buffer between facilities, that'll go to planning commission on the
It'll be the 12th or 13th of March.
13th, and then we'll bring that back on the 20th for immediate effect though, because planning commission would have already approved it and we've already gotten the go ahead on this.
Okay.
Okay.
And Mr. Mayor, to that point, Councilman Mitchell.
Can I do
reminded
a
me-
proxy?
Yeah, reminded me that he will not be at the.
Give me my voting?
As well, so, and again, with the same thing, I know, I know, but I would prefer we're all here. We're all five voices.
And I can understand that to a certain extent, and I'll just tell you, the issue that I do have is the only thing that's really affecting anybody right now is the ability to do curbside, and that's pushing this out since maybe November. So if we can get a second reading at the 1st of March, and you can't do proxy, but we all know where you're at, if you're going to be okay with that. So yeah, just so we can just get this done and just get it done.
I'm not opposed to delaying it even more.
I know.
Reflect that.
I get that. Noted.
I do have one clarification question. So after it's passed, I believe that's March 14th, if it comes back from, or the amending ordinance for the zoning comes back from planning commission and goes on the March 20th council meeting, will we need 2 readings for that, or can we do 1?
We can do 1 for that.
Okay.
For the zoning part?
Yep.
Very good. All right, so I think we can just close this topic by postponing. Do we even bother postponing until first meeting in March? Do you want that documented somehow? Or?
Yeah, I would suggest you make a motion referring it back to staff to do the additional cleanup and bring it back for, I'm going to call it a final reading on March 6th.
Okay.
I make a motion, we refer ordinance number 23-484 back to staff to clean up everything and bring it back.
March 6th.
March 6th. Thank you.
If I could clarify that, Anna might ask for you to postpone it. Is that,
We table it.
or am I wrong?
She's not here.
Because it's just a second.
It was kind of the same thing we did.
Okay.
I will move.
She can put postpone in brackets if she'd like.
Oh, but you didn't repeat the ordinance. You didn't repeat my motion yet, so it still
didn't.
belongs to us. So I can change it. So
Sure.
please add postpone to my motion. The motion I just made, just add postpone. So I move that we postpone the second reading of ordinance. It'll be the 3rd reading when it comes back of ordinance number 23-484, which amends chapter 18, section 18.1 of the medical marijuana facilities and adult use marijuana establishments till March 6th.
So March 6th. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And refer it back to.
And refer it back to.
Square brackets.
And refer back to staff.
All right.
That should be in the
And it
beginning.
was seconded by Danny.
Yes, in square bracket.
I think it's relatively clear. When you're ready.
It's gonna say, if you have to repeat that.
I got to repeat all that.
Mayor Waligora,
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Johnson,
Yes.
Councilmember Mitchell,
Yes.
and Councilmember Noah.
Yes.
Motion carried.
All right. Thank you. I'll answer to Clerk Soik when she. All right. Next up is second reading of ordinance number 23-485, which amends Article 3, Retirement System, Section 62-73B.
Consistent with council policy, this would not be read again unless any of the individual members wish it to be read. We just need a vote yes or no unless there are any questions.
All right. And just a clarification, this was some minor changes, I would say, needed for the city retirement system defined benefits plan. And if no one has any other questions.
No, no other questions? I move we approve ordinance number 23-485.
Mayor Waligora,
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Johnson,
Yes.
Councilmember Mitchell,
Yes.
and Councilmember Noah.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Thank you. And next up is the second reading of ordinance number 23-486, which amends Chapter 86, Taxation, Article 5, Bingham School Tax Exemption by amending Section 86 through 99, which is the duration.
Once again, consistent with council policy, this would not be read unless any of the individual members would like it read. And just briefly, this is one that just changed the date from January 31st of 2023 to June 30th of 2023, based on the request of Hope Network.
Hope Network.
Because they just couldn't get their financing through so that they could start by January 31st, but they're confident that they'll be able to do it by June 30th.
No questions, Mr. Mayor?
Me neither.
I move we adopt ordinance number 23-486.
Support.
Mayor Pro Tem Johnson,
Yes.
Councilmember Mitchell,
Yes.
Councilmember Noah,
Yes.
and Mayor Waligora.
Aye.
Motion carried.
Thank you. Next up under, this is now new business. A is 2023 dock replacement, and Harbor Master Shannon Smolinski here.
On February 14th, the city received and opened proposals for the replacement of the 10 fixed docks and the 1 floating U-dock in the Alpena Marina. These docks have aged and have several repairs made to alleviate safety hazards within the marina. The dock replacement was identified as the #1 priority by both the boaters and the staff of the Alpena Marina Master Plan Development. This project is the first of a two-part phase.
Easy for you to say.
Project. Bids were sent to 8 different firms, plan rooms, and were posted on the city website with 4 bids received as follows. Not going to read those and bore you with them. Though Holcomb Enterprises has an extensive experience with dock installations, their pricing was over the allotted budget for the project, and therefore I did not consider them any further beyond that. Going over the other ones, Lebrecht Services, Flotation Dock Systems, and Croft Industrial all completed a very thorough site visit and had a very detailed understanding of the project. Flotation's Docking Systems and Croft Industrial have completed other marina projects in the past successfully. In fact, Flotation Dock Services has provided a portion of the existing floating docks within the marina. Although Lebrecht does not have any previous experience constructing docks, he stated that he has extensive construction experience and millwright experience. During the site visit, Including in their proposal, flotation dock systems called out the need for modifications to the existing connection points. The new connection points require the city additional expense in installing the new support system, including extensive concrete removals and replacement. There's also concerns about the existing shoreline riprap interfering with the proposed docks. This would require additional work reconfiguring the shoreline to accommodate the docks. Lebrecht Services indicated during their site visit that they felt the existing connection points could potentially be reused. However, he did not indicate the need to rework the riprap. Croft Industrials also indicated their docks would need a new connection system and have included the connection brackets in their proposal. The new brackets connect to the existing seawall fairly easily. They also reviewed the existing shoreline conditions and feel that any modifications to the riprap needed to be done would be limited to a few higher pieces that would need to be removed and or relocated as part of that. All the companies were asked to supply delivery dates. Flotation Dock Systems explained they have another large marina that they're working on currently and could not be available until after Labor Day at the earliest. They also stated that we would need to take delivery of the docks this season anyways because of the volatile supply chain that we have going on. Lebrecht Services stated they could provide all the docks within 9 weeks and could deliver them 2 at a time when they were completed off-site and delivered. Croft indicated they would deliver the docks the week of May 19th in 2 loads to us. As I stated earlier, this is the first part of a 2-phase project for the dock replacement. The second portion would actually be where we would tear out the existing docks, do any modifications to the utility systems that need to be done, and get ready basically for those docks to be floated in place once they got here. I could not bid that in advance of knowing how we're going to proceed with the docks here. The ability to keep those docks in place if need be. I couldn't chance bidding it, having everything tore out, and then not have the docks for the summer. So everything is kind of set of dominoes here right now. What happens here makes the next steps what's going to happen there. So, and then as you can see, even from the proposals, there's a large variety and swing as far as what work needs to be done when we go in here to do this. And our hope is that when we go ahead and bid that, it's going to be done by a local contractor, not necessarily, but we have local contractors that can at that point do this portion of it. After reviewing all the proposals and evaluating the associated costs with each dock system, I feel it's in our best interest overall to award to the contract to Croft Industrial. They will be able to provide the docks in a time for use for the boaters this season, which will allow us to remove the unsafe docks prior to their use this season and will save several hours within the season upkeeping those old docks. Additionally, the simpler connection point can easily and inexpensively be incorporated into our existing setup. I believe this will overall be more cost effective to the entire project. Harbor Advisory Committee has also reviewed the proposal and has agreed with my assessment. For these reasons, it's my recommendation as a harbor master to award the 2023 dock replacement at the Alpena Marina to Croft Industrial in the amount of $231,250.
They're just, this was my question this morning. So they are just buying the docks.
Currently, they are just supplying the docks. I kind of talk about a 2-phase process there. If for some reason we get into it and the next bidder who comes in and they're going to remove everything, get ready, and everything else feels that it's going to be more expensive than it would be for us to ask for Croft. When I came back with that second award, I have a number from Croft to install. We would award that portion of it at that time if we felt it was necessity.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, I get that too. So Croft is Croft.
Croft, I think is how it's pronounced. That's when they answer the phone, that's how they say it. With that little bit of Quebec accent.
Okay, they understand that there's a possibility that we might put the addition of whatever that math is to reach 259,725. So would their installation cost be the difference between those two numbers necessarily?
Yes.
But like you said, we'll cross that bridge when we get there.
Yeah. And that's, I want to, once I get all their information here at that point in time, we'll be able to give that information as part of our next proposal request or our next bid request to tear the old or the existing docks out, do any kind of work that we need to do to the area to get it ready. And then as part of that would be connecting these docks, it's basically they drill a hole into that existing seawall and they have a threaded rod that they put in there with an epoxy. And that bar then is set that way. So long as we can do that connection and just talking to my staff, even we think maybe we can do that internal with my staff. There's a possibility that we would not need them to come in and actually install them. I'm waiting to see there's a ballast system that goes along with those docks. And I just want to make certain that we feel that either the contractors coming in or staff feels that we're comfortable enough to do that.
And just one more question. So if we decided we're not comfortable doing that, will they be available when we're ready?
And that's one conversation I've kind of had with them, and I felt like they would be available if we needed them.
No other questions?
I don't have any questions either.
I move we approve the dock replacement of Alpena Marina to Croft Industrial in the amount of $231,200.
Second.
Councilmember Mitchell,
Yes.
Councilmember Nowak,
Yes.
Mayor Waligora,
Aye.
and Mayor Pro Tem Johnson.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Thank you. Next up is the water production plant autoclave sterilizer replacement. And Steve Schultz.
Easy for you to say.
I know.
On February 14th, 2023, the city received an open proposals for the replacement of the autoclave sterilizer at the water production plant. The autoclave sterilizer is utilized in the cleaning of lab equipment used as part of ensuring the safe drinking water production. The existing unit is aged and is coming to the end of its useful life. Bid documents were sent to 5 firms and plan rooms and posted on the city's website with 2 bids received. Weber Scientific at $16,875.76 and Technology International at $20,710. Adequate funding has been established within the water production plant budget for the purchase of this equipment. So it is my recommendation as city engineer that a purchase order be issued to Weber Scientific for the replacement of the autoclave sterilizer for the water production plant in the amount of $16,875.76.
I just have one question, just for clarification.
Mhm.
We recently updated the lab over there. This wasn't part of that update.
No, we put in a little bit of money every year to do different parts of the lab. We can't really do it all at once because then you wouldn't have any money for some other capital improvements. So yeah, and sometimes we'll put in money into the budget for lab equipment and you guys never see it because it's smaller purchases. It's, a $7,000 this or a $5,000 that. That as long as it's in the budget, it doesn't pass the need to come to council for authorization. So, that's where some of that gets spent. So this is just one of the bigger items.
How old is the autoclave that we?
10 years about. Yeah.
Is that the standard shelf life? I know they changed things going forward.
It is, and it's a lot of it now is even driven by the state.
Yes.
When your autoclave is this old, it doesn't do the job anymore. So
I was wondering if there was a
part of that
shelf life for this.
Yeah.
That's all I have.
I don't have anything.
Let's see, I move we approve the issuance of a purchase order for an autoclave sterilizer for the water production plant in the amount of $16,875.76 to Weber Scientific.
Councilmember Nowak,
Yes.
Mayor Waligora,
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Johnson,
Yes.
Councilmember Mitchell.
Yes.
Motion carried.
And Steve's going to stay here for the water recycling plant Detroiter,
Detroiter. It's Detroiter without the O.
Detroiter without the O replacement.
Yeah. No, so yeah, it's a company, Detrus, I think is who it is. Or yeah. So Detroiter is it's a grit removal system used as part of the treatment process. It's actually part of the initial treatment process. So we received an open bids on February 14th, 2023. Bids were sent to 7 firms and plan rooms and posted on the city's website with 1 bid received. Meridian Contracting for $37,971. Meridian has completed a site visit to the facility and has a thorough understanding of the project. They have completed many other projects in the past at the plant successfully. The proposals came in a little higher than anticipated for the project. However, this can be attributed to a change in the anticipated handling of the project in previous rebuilds of the equipment. The plant staff we've been able to use plant staff, their expertise to complete the project in-house. So materials were really the only expense. Due to retirements and contracted labor sources no longer being available, the need to outsource the project was necessitated. While it's over the anticipated budget, sufficient funding is available when the project is combined with our other mechanical capital repairs line items. So it's my recommendation as city engineer that the water cycling plant Detroiter replacement project be awarded to Meridian Contracting in the amount of $37,971.
Oh, we don't like the single bids. Is there any other information that you can supply? I mean, have you been able to check with some of the other facilities on this type of equipment to give us something compared to? I'm kind of driving a little bit blind here. Am I getting a fair price or am I, off by 10 grand?
Yeah, I mean, I guess I don't know exactly. I didn't really do any much checking on it. I don't know, what was the original budget on this? Do you remember? 30. So, I mean, we had planned for 30. We're at a little above that. So, I mean, we continue to look for, cost savings in other areas or whatever. That's just not possible at this point with this particular part. So.
And then my other follow-up question, have we reached out to the other firms and asked, is there a reason why there were no bids? Maybe any other firms on this?
We haven't been doing that a lot lately because it's the same answer.
Yeah.
It's the sign of the times, it's COVID, it's don't have enough people, don't want to take on the project because they just don't have the time to fit it in their schedule because they're losing people. A lot of the same answers a lot. We've kind of stopped doing some of that because it's been kind of par for the course over the last 2 years.
Okay. All right. I have no other questions.
I don't either, thank you.
I don't have any questions.
Steve?
Well, I'll take this one.
Okay.
Didn't you take it?
Water recycling plant Detroiter replacement project be awarded to Meridian Contracting Services in the amount of $37,971.
Mayor Waligora.
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Johnson.
Yes.
Councilmember Mitchell.
Yes.
Councilmember Noah.
No.
Motion carried.
Okay, thank you. Next up is the plow truck replacement. Steve?
All right. Our existing plow truck fleet is between 10 and 20 years old. In an effort to save money, our mechanics have rebuilt these trucks several times instead of just replacing. While this has saved some money in the short term, we are now faced with an aged fleet with larger and more costly repairs that takes the needed equipment out of service for extended periods of time. Currently, all 8 trucks are at an age and condition that they should be replaced. However, this is neither practical nor fiscally possible. That second paragraph there talks a little bit about My Deals, which is our state purchasing program. This is what we're proposing for this purchase is, the state bids things and they get their prices and that allows us to purchase. That's how many of our vehicles are purchased already. All the police cars are purchased that way. We're getting into some leasing options now too, but with these trucks right now, we don't have that option as of yet. We hope to in the future, but we're going to go through the My Deals program for both parts of the contract to purchase these vehicles and then to outfit them. Due to their special use as plow trucks, the trucks will need to be outfitted with specialized equipment once they arrive. We are proposing this work be performed by My Deals Contractor, Truck and Trailer Specialties of Boyne Falls. They have outfitted our trucks in the past and are familiar with our needs. Additionally, they are the only My Deals contractor in northern Michigan. They will install the boxes, plowing, and safety equipment for $106,243.56. With the volatility of the supply chain, this price can only be held for the next 30 days. And that's why this is important, because as with a lot of our vehicles, that even with our leasing that we've looked at, when you can get in line and get ready for a vehicle, you get in line for it. You have to now. And then you're anticipating a vehicle maybe in 6 months, 8 months, 12 months. And so the opportunity presents itself right now for us to get 2 vehicles kind of in play. One possibly this year and then one next year. So after several internal discussions with staff and due to the extreme need and a healthy fund balance in the equipment fund at this time, we are proposing the purchase of 2 trucks to begin the process of rebuilding the fleet. This would require the approval of the attached budget amendment to reallocate equipment fund balance for the purchase of 1 truck and approval of the proposed truck purchase already outlined in this year's approved CIP, this coming year's budget. We would like approval to enter into a purchase order for next year's allocated truck early with the opportunity, if the opportunity does present itself. As the current available slot is not slated to arrive until quarter of 2023, we would then be within our next fiscal year to make that purchase. Our ongoing intentions at this point would be to start a cyclical replacement of 1 plow truck every other year. And then with regular maintenance, we can prevent the replacement of all vehicles, at once in the future. I have a paragraph here of kind of what the recommendations are. That's kind of in our mind what we really need, because we can buy the vehicles with the My Deals on our own, as long as the money's budgeted. So what we need is that first motion kind of just gives us the authorization to move some money out of the equipment fund into this year's budget, and we can write the purchase orders for that vehicle, and then we'll actually place the order and write the purchase order for next year's vehicle now, with the anticipation that it passes the budget process, but it is in the CIP. So those are what those 2 motions are that sit in front of you now.
And the reason that so we can place an order now for next year's, does that lock in a cost? Or
Locks in the price, right? That's what we're going for here, because we're talking a 5 to 15%
spot in line.
The spot and the price, yeah.
Okay.
Yep, that's what we're going for here.
I was going to ask what the anticipated increase is, because we all know that there's going to be an.
I think I don't know if the vehicle, what they said was upwards of 5%, and then the outfitting stuff was like 10 to 15%. I can't remember which one was which, but there was quite a substantial increase that they might see,
The only question I had, and you might be prepared for it, and if you're not, it's fine. But what happens to our vehicles or any of the equipment that's on them? Can it be swapped over, or do we get rid of it the way it is?
We're going to sell the 2 that we're looking at getting. These will replace 2 of them that are over there now that are the worst off. They're actually a couple of the ones that haven't been restored yet. You could see through the floorboards basically. They are rotted out underneath. But there's also the idea that there's a stainless, I'm on a blank. Stainless box on the back. I forgot the word box. Stainless box in the back. And so, it has some draw, and talking with Doug a little bit on it, we can get some money for them, and people just need to know what they are going into it. But they're the worst of what we have right now. And so we're going to replace those 2 with these 2 new ones. So.
And nothing necessarily useful on it.
Not really. There's not much for interchangeable parts, especially the motors. The motors are completely different. But just the parts and pieces, they're a different model and everything. So.
And typically these vehicles last us, well, I know we said 20 years on there, but what is a usable shelf life? Is it around 10?
It can be 10 to 12, we're looking into some different manners of taking care of them, making sure we've got, get the salt off them, when they come in, things like that, and storage and how we treat them. There's going to be some of that. We'll talk about some of that going forward. Just some standard practices.
Okay. That's great. No other questions, Mr. Mayor?
No other questions for me. And, yeah, the motions now make sense. I guess I would just maybe refer to Bill as to whether the first one, do you want to move it, but vehicle sign purchase. Should direct staff to place the order now. Do we need to add like the specific companies in here that he's purchasing them from and the particular separate amounts that we're paying the company for the truck and the company for the outfitting with equipment? I don't know if that's a detail that has to be in the motion or as we understand it. Or...
Should be with the company.
Yeah, well, the only thing is it's not a,
Oh, it's mine.
not a contract per se. It's just we're going to write a PO to them. So that's why I didn't include it.
Okay.
Because I think it would make it kind of messy, but I mean, all you're doing is basically including it in the budget and we're going out, it, you know, quite frankly, it could change tomorrow. I mean, it won't, but theoretically it could change tomorrow. I could write the PO to another My Deals, you know, contractor that might be able to offer something earlier, but I
Okay.
don't see that happening.
We don't, it's not necessary to lock you in if we don't have to.
No, I would just recommend the budget amendment to move the money
Okay.
for now.
Makes sense. Yeah.
I make a motion to approve the budget amendment request to move $234,120 into the capital vehicles line item for the purchase and outfitting of one plow truck for this fiscal year.
Second.
Mayor Waligora,
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Johnson,
Yes.
Councilmember Mitchell,
Yes.
and Councilmember Noah.
Yes.
Motion carried.
And motion number 2, I make a motion to direct staff to place an order now for the purchase and outfitting of a plow truck for the next fiscal year using funds programmed in the capital improvement plan.
Or
Mayor Pro Tem Johnson. Yes. Councilmember Mitchell,
yes.
Councilmember Noah,
Yes.
and Mayor Waligora.
Aye.
Motion carried.
All right, thank you. Next up on the agenda is turnout gear capital improvement plan request from Fire Chief Rob Edmond.
Good evening. So tonight I have probably an unusual request similar to what Steve's is. Ours is based on our turnout gear request. Obviously, it is something that we got approved in the CIP, at least to move forward through the budget process. Under my OSHA Part 74, which was basically updated in October, basically mandated that our turnout gear replaced every 10 years. At this time, we have a total of 21 sets of turnout coats and pants, 13 helmets, 25 sets of boots, 37 sets of gloves, and 74 particulate hoods needing to be replaced to be compliant with those requirements at this time. We were declined a federal grant request for the Assistance to Firefighters Grant application for 2022, which would have replaced all 37 sets of our turnout gear completely from head to toe. But we were denied on that. So basically need to come up with other options in that aspect. In doing so, we did, I know that Councilman Nowak doesn't like single source providers. So we did do our homework on this back when we first bought our first sets of turnout gear about 3 years ago. We basically had Fire Decks, which was sold through West Shore Services. And then there was Honeywell brand of turnout jacket and pants. Basically, they were comparable products. We decided basically once we started buying our gear that we wanted to keep it similar in construction and features, kind of keep everything consistent across the board. In touching base with Fire Decks, which was through West Shore, they're willing to keep our price at the current price of $3,056 a set for jacket and pants. And then the boots and stuff, that's the other things that we need to work out with them. But they're basically looking to secure the price. They know that they're going to have a price increase as of March 6th of about 20%. In doing that math, we did budget for, I believe it was $112,000 through the CIP project as a request. With a 20% increase, we'd be looking to add an additional $22,400 to the cost, bringing it up to about $134,400. So what I'm trying to do is basically secure that current price at the $112,000 or less by getting approval, if you so choose tonight, to allow me to go ahead and get the fitting of the gear. By doing the fitting of the gear, it would basically secure the price. We wouldn't get billed until the gear comes in, which is about a 26 to 30 week build time. So we're looking at September or October before the gear would even arrive in our station. So at this time, I'm requesting to have West Shore Fire schedule fitting of department personnel for turnout gear items and have the order placed to secure the current price quote in anticipation of the CIP project being included in the 2023-24 fire department budget. Payment and invoicing would not occur until delivery of the items well into the next fiscal year.
Chief, if I may, Mr. Mayor, the only question I have is it better off going forward to put on a rotation series like you've done with some of the other equipment? Or is it let's get to the 10 years and do a bulk buy like this?
So what we've done is about 3 budget cycles ago, we bought our first set of 3. Bought those 3. I think we skipped a year, then we did 3 more last year, and we've done 5 this year. Everybody has 2 sets of turnout gear. So they have a primary set that we use for everyday structural firefighting, and the other set is a backup gear. So when we do go to a fire, we got a set to jump into until ours gets dried and cleaned and everything. And that second set is our training gear too. So if we rip it, we tear it, that's what it's for. So we're not destroying a $3,000 set of turnout gear. So yes, we are looking at continuing the replacement process. I think this last year we budgeted $18,000 to replace 5 sets, which are on order right now. So, and that's why we only need the 21 sets, because we did do an inventory of all the gear that we have and basically determined that what we're requesting is just what we need to replace what is currently outdated with basically a 9-year shelf life, because some of them are going to come expired in October of this year.
If some of the, so this is just for my own knowledge, to be honest with you. I don't want to drag this out too long, but I could have asked you, but so these are fitted uniforms, if you will.
Yep.
So what happens when what happens when we have like a short-term employee that just doesn't stay long for one reason or another? Does that gear go with them, or does it stay with us?
Stays with us.
Stays.
Yep, it stays with us.
In anticipation that it might fit someone else?
In hopes that it will fit somebody else, correct.
Okay.
And some of the gear for some of the people right now, I'll be honest with you, the last set that I had replaced was 18 years old, because Chief basically said you need to get it replaced. It's way too old. But we do have some people within the ranks that they're wearing 12 and 13, 14-year-old sets of gear.
Okay.
And it's somebody else's, it's hand-me-down stuff that they've had. Fully comfortable in people being in it. But with MyOSHA making the changes like they are, we kind of have to comply.
Okay.
So the other downside to it is if MyOSHA did come in and check our gear, what we're being told is it's $10,000 per offense, so per set of gear. So we could be in for a sizable
Makes more sense to
fine.
spend $3,000 than
It does.
10 grand.
It does. And basically, like I said, I just want to secure this at this current price. And they did say that if we do it before March 6th, they could honor the price.
Is there an opportunity? Is that grant that we missed, that we didn't get last year, is that an annual thing? Will you be putting in for that grant?
And yes, there's a whole list of things. It basically is whatever AFG determines as being the hot buttons for the year, and usually personal protective gear is at the height of that list. To go with that, we just got our air compressor on Thursday that we've been waiting almost 2 years from the last grant that we got. So we just got that delivered in the station as well. So we're going to keep applying for those grants as they come available.
Okay, great. That's all I have.
I have no other questions.
I don't either. I just wanted to kind of make sure that we're clear on what we're approving. But go ahead if you.
Sure. I move to approve the fire department to proceed with the fitting and ordering of turnout gear through West Shore Fire as presented, with billing to be upon delivery of the items outlined in the CIP request.
Support. So we're not moving any funds right now because we don't need to. We're just getting ahead of the game.
Yep.
And this would all be approved and assuming in the regular budget process.
Okay, very good.
Councilmember Mitchell,
Yes.
Councilmember Nowak,
Yes.
Mayor Waligora,
Aye.
and Mayor Pro Tem Johnson.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Thank you. Next up is mask fit testing fee schedule. Chief.
For Thank you. Due to the recent changes in my OSHA Part 74 firefighting and a more focused approach to employee safety in structural firefighting profession, there's revisions to several industry best practices being mandated by state and federal guidelines. Just to kind of shorten this up a little bit, I believe it was last year we bought a mask fit tester to replace an old unit that we had. Cost us about $10,000. They gave us about $2,000 as a trade-in in it. So realistically, it cost the city $8,000 to get a new mask fit tester, which is a requirement. All the other components of the respiratory protection program and plan we're compliant with. So for us, we're covered. What's happened now, though, is because of the MyOSHA Part 74 requirements for mask fit testing that all departments are being subjected to and they have to go and do, we're getting more requests to do mask fit testing for other departments. Currently, we've been doing that for free because we've only had a couple of departments that have made the request for us to do it. So we felt it was prudent for us to set a fee schedule that hopefully that fee schedule will pass along the costs enough to be able to replace a mask fit tester at some point and basically pay for any repair maintenance that we have to have once a year. It has to be sent in to the manufacturer to get recalibrated, which currently costs about $800 to get it recalibrated. And then we always have repair and upkeep on that stuff. Parts of it, there's hoses and things that go bad. Basically, we want to find a way that we can look to the future, how we can replace that and be good stewards of the city's equipment. By doing the fee schedule, that would allow us to basically pass on that cost to the departments that are needing the mask fit testing. There are currently 9 departments that have inquired with us about doing the mask fit testing. So we're looking just at a way that we can give them a cost. Here's what it's going to cost. And we develop a line item that money can go back into to eventually pay for the cost of that equipment going forward in the future. We figure that equipment is about a 10-year lifespan is what we have. I think the last one we got a little bit more than that. I think we were about 14 years before the manufacturer said, you know what, we can't service it anymore. So.
Yeah, and the suggested fees, I would assume are much better. Those spending $8,000 on a year.
Correct. So I'll explain the fee schedule real quick. So the fee schedule that we've proposed is basically broken down into 3 different respirators. A self-contained breathing apparatus mask fit testing is $35, which is about standard that we found from other vendors that are actually charging. What the other vendors do, though, is they also charge you for the N95 and the powered air purifying respirators. They also charge you $35 for each one of them. And that's the most simplest, basic mask fit test that we can do. It's a hood system and banana oil. So there's really low cost to it. So what we did is instead of passing on $35 for each of those tests, we dropped it down to $10 because we really feel that we can cover our costs and still do what we need to as far as equipment for replacement. So.
Okay. Fair enough. Any question? I don't have any questions. Good. Nope.
I move we approve the proposed fee schedule effective March 1st, 2023 for mask fit testing and create the committed line item for revenues to be used for the respiratory protection program administration.
Second.
That one on my own.
I don't think it warrants a repeat. So.
Councilmember Noah,
Yes.
Mayor Waligora,
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Johnson, Councilmember Mitchell.
Yes.
Motion carried.
All right, thank you. Next up is carded CPR/AED training fee schedules, Chief.
Correct. Okay, so for my last item that I have for tonight, Community Risk Reduction Officer Andy Marceau has been basically doing what he can in the community to try and promote a safer community. One of the things he came to me soon after being promoted is, hey, we maybe need to start looking at doing CPR AED classes because, again, we're getting a lot of requests for it, even more so now that the DeMar Hamlin situation happened on the football field in front of everybody. So we're getting a lot of requests for carded CPR classes, which takes about 8 hours to do a full class. What it does do is it allows Andy, if we go in and do a CPR class for somebody, it opens up the door for that community risk reduction stuff. So he also then pushes off the Stop the Bleed programs, the Stop, Drop, and Roll, Close Before You Doze, all these other programs that he solicits to keep the community safer. So it kind of gives us an open door. We've partnered with a company called Team Life, which I'll be giving you more information probably for your next council meeting. We partnered with them. They're going to offer public access defibrillators at a much reduced cost. I think the cost is $14.95 for a defibrillator. And you can buy all the hardware and stuff. So if you need a mounting bracket, whatever. In exchange, what we're going to do to try and push that community initiative is we're going to provide the non-carded, non-CPR classes free of charge in conjunction with that. So hopefully we get other places that want to get those public access defibrillators out and going. We're going to roll that out here this next month. Andy has already gotten, I think, orders for 3 or 4 have already been out there that community members are looking at purchasing them, and we're going to provide the training at no cost. But again, it's a non-carded class. So it's a good initiative for us. So just to kind of break down a little bit on the fee schedule, the fee schedule is broken down again into 3 parts. Part number 1 is a non-carded, non-certified CPR AED training. This is something Andy does when he goes in, let's say, to the Senior Citizen Center, and they want to know about Remembering When program. He'll dabble in this because somebody will always say, well, I'm 80 years old. How do I do effective CPR? So Andy will get them the low down, dirty version of here's the best way to do it and walks them through that. That's not anything that we charge anything for. We also offer to the volunteer fire departments as part of the ambulance contract and the county sheriff's department. They need carded classes in order to get their certification through medical control and their state licenses. So we offer that just at the cost of the card, kind of as a give back for the ambulance millage and whatnot. So we charge them just the cost of the CPR card, which is $6. And then the third part of that is the CPR AED card certification training, which is $60 a person. That is basically in line with what My Michigan Medical Center does. That's what they charge. The advantage that we have is usually people call us because they want the class next week, where the hospital, they have their set dates that they do them and you got to show up, where we actually bring the class to them. So at this time, what we're looking for is to ask that the council approve the fee schedules outlined below, and again, create a committed line item for the revenue generated to be utilized for the purpose of CPR, AED, community outreach, training, and equipment. One of the biggest expenses that we have is in the mannequins, the CPR mannequins. So those mannequins are anywhere from $900 to $1,000, just because we have to have some metrics built within them. We hope that as we keep getting more CPR classes, that we're able to kind of put that back into the program to replace things as we wear them out from doing more and more classes. So I will tell you that he's probably got over 100 people already slated for carded classes if this goes through. So, and that's just since the DeMar Hamlin incident, we're just getting more and more requests for it. So,
yeah. And we've been, the fee for the Alpena County Sheriff's Department, that's been $6 already.
Yes,
established.
That's just a pass-through fee for us. So,
gotcha. Okay. And on your last note, I was just going to ask if you had discussed maybe amongst yourselves whether it would matter how many people are attending the class at one time.
We do. We actually have, by American Heart Association standards, we can only allow so many in a class at a time. So sometimes we may have to double up or triple up in instructors based on the number of mannequins, because you have to have a 1-to-1 mannequin count.
Okay, gotcha.
Yep.
And so that's where it really doesn't matter if there's 50 or 100, still $60 a person.
Yep.
is.
Yep. And we usually, I think Andy's trying to keep the classes at 16 or less, so that we can do it with 1 or 2 instructors to be able to give them the hands-on. And again, he brings all those other things to it because we're doing the Stop the Bleed programs. We're doing all the other community risk reduction things while he's there. It's just a good opportunity to connect. So.
Okay. So anyone else? I don't have anything.
Okay, I move to approve the proposed fee schedule effective March 1st, 2023 for CPR, AED, community outreach and equipment, and create the committed line item for revenues to be used for the cost of the class materials, CPR card certification, mannequins, and associated training items for CPR, AED training.
Second.
Would you like to repeat that?
Mayor Waligora,
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Johnson,
Yes.
Councilmember Mitchell,
Yes.
Councilmember Noah.
Yes. Thank you, Chief. Appreciate all the.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Chief.
I move we adjourn to closed session to discuss labor union negotiations. Or that's clear.
Not repeating that one either. And it's going to kill me. Yes, yours.
Just tell it.
We'll be doing just public comment after you return to open session.
No, we only do public comment at the beginning of our meetings. A little bit different than the county. I think they do theirs twice, maybe.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
This conference will now be recorded. This conference will now be recorded.
Are we ready?
All right, back in open session.
So I move that we ratify TPOAM contract effective 2/3?
Nope.
No,
TPOAM, City of Alpena, Department of Public Works. Proposal dated February 10th, 2023.
okay.
Yeah.
Let me start all over. I move we ratify TPOAM, the City of Alpena Department of Public Works proposal dated 2/10/2023.
Support.
Mayor Pro Tem Johnson. Councilmember Mitchell.
Yes.
Councilmember Nowak.
Yes.
And Mayor Waligora.
Aye.
Motion carried.
I move we adjourn.
Second. Third.
You second?
No, he seconds. I third.
Someone's got to.
You got me.